What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for Your Overwatch. This time, I want to weigh in on the current meta situation in Overwatch, something that is being illuminated a bit more at the pro level of play. If you haven't been watching the Overwatch Open, it's been a sick event. And a Roadhog hook out of nowhere! Roadhog is a great flanker, guys, did you know? I was going back to spawn anyway, because they already had a soldier that I didn't feel comfortable flying around in the air as Pharah anyway. Going into Reaper, and we're going to see the massive difference it makes to my game. And sort of the issue that I have with Reaper is that, honestly, he's one of the easiest heroes in the game. I actually think he's an easier hero to play than Winston, which isn't a problem inherently, actually. And it appears I completely failed against this Junkrat, but my thought process was that he wouldn't stay around while I chased him in Wraith form. I knew he didn't have any ammo left, I just figured he'd turn and run, but he actually played chicken with me. Anyway, I've always liked the play of, say, like, Fnatic, who were always able to try to utilize Reaper to his full extent and play a more team-focused game. They're able to play their best when they're just setting up buds to play Reaper, but they always were that way. And I can see value to that style of team comp and that approach to the game. But the issue we're having now is that just about every team is getting carried by Reaper, not because Reaper is some sick hero that you can just overwhelm the enemy team with your skill, that we've taken so many great lengths to remove some of the more high-skill, high-value characters from the game that they're not really worth playing anymore. Now, granted, if Nano Boost gets nerfed to a point where Triple Tank seems just goofy and clunky by itself, then maybe this will fix itself anyway. But the point I want to make is that if Widowmaker was still powerful, if Genji was still powerful, we wouldn't be having the situation where it's impossible to play so many of the DPS classes against a team comp that on paper you would imagine isn't very good. But since support ultimates, especially Nano Boost, is so good, and tanks are so versatile as they are, with Roadhog being one of the best damage dealers in the game, it kind of pushes the need out to have these low hit point, squishy DPS characters that require a ton of skill to play. And don't get me wrong, I do think the Overwatch Open has shown a nice variety of heroes, because since the ground-based Reaper and tank play has pushed up so much, a lot of pro teams see an opening to be able to use Pharah, which is a dream for me. I think it's a much more healthy meta than people give it credit for, but we haven't seen the finals play out anyway, so for all we know, the best team at running triple tank will feel unbeatable, and the variety of games that we saw on the last few days of the Overwatch Open might have just been because that they don't run the comp as good as NiP or another European team can. And I just hope we can take this opportunity to look at the result of the meta as it stands now and just realize the effect of what happens when we do nerf carry DPS roles, as I think we have done over time in Overwatch. The effect on the game has been exactly what I was worried would happen. You'll take away some of the highest skill sets in Overwatch, and all you'll be left with is Reaper. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome seeing a Reaper get nano boosted into the enemy team and wipe everything, but I miss the days where Kib played Genji or Taimu on Widowmaker, characters that take a lot more skill to play than Reaper. At the end of the day, something is going to be powerful, and we on this channel have always stressed and advocated to have that be the characters that take the most skill to get that value out of them. And when you put a character in the position like Widowmaker, where the skill requirement to value ratio is just way off, you'll get way more pure damage dealing potential out of Reaper. Why run Widow? Ever. And if there isn't strong DPSs in the game, why run Genji? He's best at dueling other DPSs, not at shredding tanks. And those battles were awesome to watch. And that's the high-level gameplay we want to see out of this game. Granted, there is an entirely separate angle that I can go about this conversation from about maps. The effect of this triple tank stuff has been shown to be not as good most times on capture point maps, because oftentimes there are small chokes that you have to push through, and defenses that run Mei fairly easily can zone them off. One of the most interesting games that I saw was Cloud9 against Method, and it was the one map that Method won in the series on Anubis, where Cloud9 was trying to set up Nano Boosted Rein and Zarya Graviton, but Method ran solo tank with Winston, with clutch Maywalls to split the enemy, Junkrat spamming in as the main damage dealer from an alternate angle, and Tracer flanking behind, harassing the supports and cleaning up frags from the Junkrat damage. And all of this zoning and spread out defense made it so Cloud9 couldn't simply run up the gut and just nano boost and overwhelm the enemy team, which I thought was very interesting. But the question is, will these types of strategies prevail over time? Because on defense on payload, it's nowhere near as easy to simply put up a Mei wall and have a massively advantageous fight for the defense. They're going to take ground. And I'd argue, as defensive teams struggle to hold any footing on Streets phase against these triple tanks controlling all the space, if Widow was still viable, or if even we had a hookshot buff, she can navigate the map in such a way that it's similar to how Method played on Anubis and be able to make individual plays that affect the game. But instead, oftentimes it just seems teams are mirroring triple tank and Maze as well and trying to ult stack their way to victory with nano boosted Reapers. Which is an interesting comp, and I'm glad we've had change in Overwatch because I love the game so much. It's nice to see something new, but I think we all can agree the more the merrier. I'm fine with this comp being viable, but I'm always going to want more skillful heroes to be center stage. But obviously, a lot of this could get changed with more maps. Eichenwald is a cool map, and I'm sure I said that name wrong, whatever, but it didn't really change the game of Overwatch. And maybe that's fine. Maybe the style of maps and the engagement distances and the way cover and high ground is how we want Overwatch to play. I think it plays fine, but it might even be easier to just make more weighted style maps. Maps that do have massive lines of sight that can make a place for Widowmaker. King of the Hill maps that are way more open and sort of a big field rather than a small clustered arena. But my assumption is that isn't the route they want to go down. Blizzard has an unenviable job with this game, trying to make everything work. And ultimately, you can't please everyone, which is why I advocate for a clear balance philosophy. That we should have an expectation that the highest skill cap heroes have the highest value, which is directly contrary to hero parity, attempting to make every hero work at all levels of play equally. I think balancing that way makes Overwatch a much more cheapened experience. And if it feels like we don't have enough heroes at the top level of play, I'd like to just see more heroes, not re-engineer the entire meta so that easier ones have a place, knocking down DPS after DPS until all we're left with is Roadhog and Reaper. Ultimately, maybe you guys don't even care about any of this. Maybe the pro side of the game is too alien to most of the community to really care if the pros only can get value out of Reaper. So if that's the case, let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and it gave you some food for thought. You're free to disagree, obviously. This game is for everybody, so we all can have an opinion on this. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more. We upload each and every day. I've been Frito for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.